Hello, in this video I'm going to talk about the Helikon Stratus Heavyweight Fleece and answer the question, is it any good and why would you choose fleece when there are so many other options out there? Now this jacket is made from polyester fleece, also known to some of us as genuine Muppet skin, and its weight is 310 GSM, and a jacket's warmth is expressed by weight, and at 310 it's just outside the top end of the kind of medium range and barely entering the heavyweight range. And for a temperate climate like the UK, that's actually a good thing because it means it's flexible and you can use it as part of a layering system. Now the fit on this jacket is quite generous. I usually wear an extra large, and in this case I've gone for a large. And for reference, I'm hobbit sized, I'm 5'7", but I've got a 46-inch chest, so I'm broad and quite chunky as well. And as you can see, there's plenty of room in here. It's not tight anywhere. So if you're rocking the dad bod like me, it's actually quite a flattering fit and I like it quite a lot. One thing about this jacket you should be aware of is it's quite long. It's been designed with a scalloped back, and that's to cover your rear end. Because I'm quite short, it does mean that it's a little bit lower than I would like, because it comes just where my legs start to open. That's kind of where the jacket comes to. And that means for me, when I try and sit down, it does feel a little bit tight just here, but there is a way around it. It's got a two-way zip, so you can just open it up from the bottom and create a little bit more room for yourself, and then it's more comfortable. If you've got the opposite problem and it's too loose here, there are draw cords here, so you can just pull those draw cords and cinch it in to keep it nice and tight and keep the air in if it's getting cold as well. Now the collar on this jacket isn't very high, so that means it isn't one of those jackets that you can really kind of hunker down into when it starts getting cold. But if I show you what it looks like, you can see it only comes up to about half of my neck. Okay, so it's not very high at all. Now I've got a 17-inch neck, so I do have a large neck, and this is a little bit snug, but otherwise it's fine. It's just not too high. The good thing about not having a large collar like this is it does mean it's very comfortable to wear as a mid layer underneath the jacket, because you don't have lots of excess material flapping about that you've got to deal with. Now the cuffs on this jacket are elasticated, and I actually quite like that because it works and it's fuss free, and it keeps the wind out, so nothing to worry about. You just put your hand in and it just works. Now the pocket placement on this jacket is quite interesting. They start from about the chest and they go to just above the waist, while usually they kind of sit on your hip here. Now the reason for that is it's that when you're wearing a rucksack with a hip belt, which would cover your hips here, you can still get access to your pockets here. So it's a really good design feature for outdoors. It does make it more practical, which is a good thing. The pockets have a little subdivider on the inside, just get that out. So you can keep things like your keys, you can put your keys in there and keep that separate from your phone and stop the screen getting scratched up, so that's a nice little feature too. One thing I would say about these pockets are, although you can get quite a lot in here if you wanted to, as soon as you put anything bulky, you're then kind of bulging in all the wrong places. So if you're kind of rocking the dad bod like me, it's not a good look, so just be aware of that. But otherwise the pockets there are quite fine. Now it also has two bicep pockets, and these are quite generous. So if I just open up, get my whole hand in there, and to give you an idea of size, I can get my Samsung Galaxy A71 phone just about in there. So you can get a fair amount in there, but it's probably better for kind of small items. Now another really clever thing they've done with the pockets is they've backed it with this kind of heavyweight mesh material here, rather than just more fleece, and that's the same for the arms as well. And the reason for that is when it's getting hot, you can just open up your zips, and then you can dump excess heat, and you can use it to control your body temperature. And actually opening up these pockets and these pockets does actually make quite a big difference in cooling you down when it gets a little bit too hot. So it's a really well thought out feature. On the ventilation front, they've also gone a bit further, and they've put a ventilation panel under each arm. And this does sort of help get rid of any excess heat, but it must be said, when you get a cold blast of air, it does tend to find its way into your armpits. Now the colour of this jacket is coyote brown, and I really like this colour because it's nice and discreet. It sort of blends in with the autumn colours really well, but it's not too warry or Rambo. It does have some sort of military features, like it has the hook and loop patches on the arms. So I've got my dog dad patch on one side, and I've got my Slava Ukraini flag on the other side as well. But overall, it's not too warry, and this jacket is appropriate for being outside in the country, or actually just going into town and nipping down to the shops as well. In practice, this is a really versatile jacket. It's nice and warm without being too warm that it's too hot to wear in the car, or if you've got to pop into town and go into the shops. I would say as an outer jacket, it comes into its own in autumn on kind of cold, dry days, and early spring as well. And also it's got good use through the winter as an insulating mid layer. So a really versatile and useful jacket. Design features aside, Why would you wear a fleece jacket when there are more technical options out there like hollow fill or down? When you compare them, fleece isn't wind resistant, and pound for pound it's not as warm either, and it's also nowhere near as compressible if you throw it into a rucksack. So what are the benefits? Well, it comes down to this: fleece is really hard wearing, and when you've got dogs, that's actually really important. Now, quite often when I'm with my dogs, I'll find myself forcing myself into bushes, either to pick up a ball that they've dropped in there, or chase after them or chase through them. And a fleece jacket is much less likely to get torn in those conditions than a hollow fill or a down jacket is. So that's something to think about. Another thing to think about when you've got dogs is you're out in all weathers. Now, down in particular loses a lot of its insulation properties when it gets wet, while fleece doesn't. It stays nice and warm even when it's wet because it doesn't really absorb water in the same way. And finally, the other thing to think about is, particularly when you've got dogs, is you tend to get muddy because you are near the water's edge, the dogs are shaking themselves off and you're getting covered in mud quite a lot. So you're having to wash your jackets quite a lot. Now, with down and hollow fill, they tend to lose their insulation properties over time the more you wash them because they lose their loft. While fleece is very tough and it's really easy to just wash and wear. It takes no time to dry at all. You literally take out the washing machine, it's almost dry after the spin cycle, you hang it up for a couple of hours inside and it's dry and ready to wear again. So it's a really practical solution for dog owners. That's why I quite like fleece. I think it's a good choice. So I hope that was useful, and stay warm this autumn.